Hey, Clara Adelena here at the Corporate Women on Fire. Oops. Sorry for that. Lots of things suddenly happening at the same time on the computer. Uh, One of the things, I just come out of an interview. I did an interview with Natalie, who worked with me for a long time, and who made some amazing growth as a professional, as a woman, found the love of her life. So it was so lovely. We really were sharing this mission of me over the summer, and it was so good to celebrate that together in the interview. She's moved on to even more amazing opportunities work-wise, so honoring her for that. But one of the things she said, and that touched me because it's so what I am about, is she said, the moment I heard you, Clara, I knew that you understand something about feminine power that many others don't understand. And she said, I've been with so many teachers, so many gurus, so many amazing people. I've learned so much. And she has, I know, she's done everything, inner development wise. But she said, it left me confused concerning my feminine power. Isn't that sad? And thinking about the interview, I remembered a moment that was for me a key moment to what I teach, to who I am, and why it is that all these C-suite women find me, right? And then go on to find their life partners, find themselves first, find their feminine power first. In a way, they didn't even, they knew it exists, but they had no image of it, no feeling with it. Just, there must be something. So my memory, long time ago, I was a student at the time, a student in theoretical physics. I loved it. It was so, opening my vision of the world and what was possible and what's the world really that we live in. What powers are there forming it? And I was intrigued with feminine power then already. I felt I was different than many other women, and where, what, how do I develop? How do I meet my sisters? Where do we find the connection? Where do I become a contribution? All those questions going on through my mind. And a new book was out, and it was called The Lesbian Beautiful Book, in Dutch, Lesbian Prachtboek. It was groundbreaking. It was so much from a subculture, and it was way more than lesbian. And I don't identify as a lesbian. I was exploring it. I'm definitely open to it, right? But it was an amazing book. It was groundbreaking in so many ways. And I remember in the book, I read a story about the Bible, about the first story in the Bible, Adam and Eve. And I realized something shocking. Because what it said was that this story was not the beginning. It said every culture has its own creation stories. But there's always been a culture before. And before Christianity came, there were many cultures that honored the feminine and the female divine, goddess. And in those older cultures, the snake was one of the symbols of the feminine. The snake with her smooth power slithering, snatching at the right moment, rearing its head, sleeping in the sun. The feminine, what a beautiful image. Shedding her skin over and over. We don't identify just as this is me for the rest of our lives. Women, we shed skins all the time. The snake. The tree is another symbol of the feminine, of the sacred feminine. The tree is the tree of life. We still know it, the tree of life. It's endured all these thousands of years. The tree with its roots in the earth. rising up and its branches reaching high in the sky. That's women, that's the power. The tree as a temple where birds live, where lovers make love, where old people rest. The tree that creates shades but also creates oxygen. A symbol of life. So the story of Adam and Eve with the apple, the tree and the apple, by the way, again, goddess, right? That's why it's Snow White, that apple is so important. So those symbols of the snake, the tree, and the apple were originally very sacred, very powerful, and they symbolized a power of the feminine that we have almost forgotten in our time. And what the story, the creation story in the Bible does, you can look at it in many ways, right? But if you look at it through this lens, what it does is it robs us women of that power. And it labels these amazing powers of us as bad. Who? And I remember the moment I read it. I was in a train. In Holland, we go by trains, right? I was in a train. I was reading this, and it was like, fuck. All the time, I had this feeling I needed to prove myself against man. All the time, I had the feeling I need to find my power. And now I'm actually reading that that power has always been mine. I don't need to go find it. It's here already. I just need to peel off all those layers that tell me that that power would be bad. And as long as I let those stories intact, I will never find my feminine power. I can become the CEO of the biggest company in the world. I can become the richest woman in the world. But if I still believe those stories, that the snake and the apple and the tree would be signs of something bad, of Eve, not living up to God's expectations. As long as I believe that story, I will never find my power. And I will always be unfulfilled and struggling with imposter syndromes. Even though I do all this amazing work, even though I'm so rich, even though I'm so powerful, I don't really feel my power. All of that flashed through me while I was zooming through the landscape in that train reading this book. I was so angry. I could have killed any man who came close in that moment. Now, I don't mean that literally. I'm not a man hater, right? I'm not a killer. But I'm just saying it to illustrate how that anger was so primal, so deep. And I knew I wasn't going to do it, of course. I was not going to kill anyone, but it really felt like this is the power that can kill. Which in itself is amazing to feel. Because if we think of times long gone, right, every species kills to feed their young. Women, lions, tigers kill to feed their young. We need to be able to access that power. And I did that in that very moment. It was no longer an abstract thing, power. I felt it. At that moment, still in the form of anger, or at times, of course, as I started owning it more, it shifted to its positive side. Momentum, action taking, manifesting. A lot of M's there. Mama. So that story came back, and I wanted to share it here because I have a feeling that story can be important. And maybe you are the one who is just like me, have that feeling of, I'm looking for my power. I want a man at my level, but I'm confused about my own power. Well, how can I find a man on my level then? We need to align with our power first. And you don't need to find it out there, and nobody needs to give it to you, and you don't need to fight for it. You need to peel off those layers like the snake, shed it all off until we really feel our vibrant feminine power again, snake power, apple power, tree power, and we can feel the beauty in there. My whole life has been about this journey, this peeling off, this awakening, and about showing women how this is not a theoretical thing. It's something we do in the world, and it leads us to jobs with more impact, with more revenue. It leads us to serve deeper. It leads us to make wiser choices. And it leads us to find the love of our life. Because as long as we don't embrace this part of us, we're not whole. And when we're not whole, we keep expecting the other to give us what we're missing. And nobody else can ever fulfill that. Maybe for a few weeks, maybe for a few months, but not forever. The wholeness lives within you. And that's what this is all about. So women find so much more here than love, and finding love is already so big. If you feel cold, if you feel like, yeah, I know it is my time. I know it is my time. There's a new year coming, a new season coming. I don't want to stay stuck. I know I have more inside of me. I know the world needs me in a different place. Reach out, come and talk to us, and let's see if we are fit. And if so, we will tell you all about how we actually help women to find that feminine power and to find the love of their life. It happens again and again. It happened for my employee. It happens again and again. Thank you so much. Excited to be sharing this journey with more and more amazing corporate women on fire. Thank you, aloha.